Ave Maris Stella.
Hello and welcome back to Vatican II in a Year. This is your host, Father Matthew Schneider. I am a priest of the Legionaries of Christ, and I teach theology. This is a podcast on the Star Quest Production Network at sqpn.com. Today we're on day 265, we're covering Ad Gentes, paragraphs 30 to 31 on missionaries of one heart and soul. If you want to follow along, we have a reading plan and more details at sqpn.com/Vatican and frmatthewlc.com/Vatican. Yesterday, we spoke about we need to use our gifts, and the Vatican needs to set up an office for missions. Today, we're going to continue Chapter 5, Planning Missionary Activity, and the summary is we need unity in the missions, which is shown in unity around the local bishop, and bishops should collaborate with each other to avoid unneeded multiplication. Today will be a little shorter, I noticed as I was preparing this, but let's get straight into paragraph 30. It has two sub-paragraphs, which we'll read together, which is unity in missions around the bishops. So this important factor of the local church or the local mission being in unity around the bishop. We as Catholics are not just going out there being independent. We are always reliant on the hierarchy. So let's read it. 30a. In order that the proper goals and results may be attained, all missionary workers should have but one heart and one soul, Acts 4, in the actual carry out of the mission work itself. B. It is the bishop's role as the ruler and center of unity in the diocesan apostolate to promote missionary activity, to direct it and to coordinate it, but always in such a way that the zeal and spontaneity of those who share in the work may be preserved and fostered. All missionaries, even exempt religious, are subject to his power in the various works which refer to the exercise of the sacred apostolate. To improve coordination, let the bishop set up, insofar as possible, a pastoral council in which the clergy, religious, and laity may have a part, through the medium of selected delegates. Moreover, let them take care of the apostolic activity not limited to those only who have been already converted. A fair proportion of personnel and funds should be assigned to the evangelization of non-Christians. In this paragraph, I need to explain one term, the term exempt religious. This refers to religious who are exempt from certain authority of the bishop. Pontifical communities, ones who are, have the larger ones, pontifical authority, and a lot of monasteries have this to a degree. They have aspects of their life, like our life, outside the purview of the local bishop. Oftentimes, the bishop can't determine who becomes the abbot or can't interfere with the internal life of the monastery or convent or the religious community and things like that because it is protected by the Holy See from a bishop who is too interfering. But this is limited to the community life and or the physical property of the monastery or convent, depending on the exact exemption. And the idea is here, what they're talking about when they mention exempt religious, is that the bishop still has authority over external apostolates and things like that. To an extent, I'm an exempt religious with my own community having a pontifical institution, so the bishop can't say I should be dismissed from my community or say I should or shouldn't be the superior, things like that. But if I want to be chaplain to a school in the diocese, I can't do that without permission of the bishop. I can say Mass and on our own property, hear confessions of the members of my own community on our own property, things like that, no problem. I can also, if somebody stays day and night at our house, I can do that as well. But I can't go out and do ministry without permission from the bishop. That's what we're talking about. We talk about exempt religious. It's a term that those of us who are involved in it know, but it might not be obvious for a lot of those who are listening. So I thought I'd explain it. This paragraph really is about this unity of mind and heart we have as Catholics. We are not these independent Baptists or whatever who make our own church, make our own thing, but we are always in unity. And we want to have that unity of mind and heart like the apostles, like Jesus set before us. And that unity as Catholics is going to be around our bishop. So that's important. And bishops do have this key role in promoting missions. A real question, I think, for bishops and for those in dioceses is how do we promote vocations to the missions? I always wonder, and I've heard different things from different diocesan vocation directors, what the role is, because some see their role as promoting vocations for the diocese. So the communities in the diocese, the diocesan priesthood, things like that. Others see their mission as promoting vocations from the diocese, which is a much more missionary activity, because then if someone is called to a contemplative community elsewhere, if someone is called to a missionary order that's going to go and send them to a country that's not really Catholic and doesn't really have local priests coming forth from it, that is a success for that second type. And I think that's an important thing to think about when we're talking about vocation promoters, vocation directors, things like that. I know for our own self, we often consider it a success when somebody we've been working with, hey, they decide to join the Dawson Seminary. We helped them discern, and they looked at the legion, they looked at the diocese, and they were spiritual with the priest who was there. And then at the end, they said, you know what? I feel like I'm called to this local area, or I'm called to this contemplative community as well. And we're great. We did our best to help you discern. And that's important also for bishops. And the bishops also need to coordinate the missionary activity in the diocese. The bishops do coordinate things like schools, parishes, Catholic hospitals, etc. So the same idea. And then it also needs to have a pastoral council. Now, the bishop always has this, but the idea here is to make sure that it isn't self-referential, but it goes out towards mission. It's making sure that people go out, not just we look at our own church. No, we look at how we can go out, how we can evangelize in our diocese. And it also mentions to have a variety of people on it. And finally, it mentions our importance of not just doing ministry to other Catholics, to the existing church, but to constantly go out. And that's an important aspect of our apostolate, our missionary activity. So moving on to paragraph 31, it has two subparagraphs. Again, it's going to be read together. And this paragraph is about larger groups like Episcopal conferences should coordinate for good projects. This focuses on Episcopal conferences, but I think other levels of groupings of dioceses can work too. I'll mention that at the end. Let's read it. 31a. Episcopal conferences should take common counsel to deal with weightier questions and urgent problems without, however, neglecting local differences. Lest the already insufficient supply of men and means be further dissipated, or lest projects be multiplied without necessity, it is recommended that they pool their resources to found projects which serve the good of all, as for instance seminaries, technical schools, and schools of higher learning, pastoral, catechetical, and liturgical centers, as well as the means of social communication. B. Such cooperation, when indicated, should also be initiated between several different Episcopal conferences. Just a reminder here, the word Episcopal here means bishops, so the Episcopal conferences are the conferences usually of a country, sometimes of a few small countries, things like that. But like, for instance, the USCCB, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, the CCCB, the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, those are examples of what we mean by Episcopal conferences. And this is important. The bishops should take counsel from each other, they should cooperate, and things like that. And we want to make sure we don't start these competing institutions with waste manpower, which waste all these things and don't really give as good a formation. If we have one seminary and it's full, we are able to provide so much more to each of those seminarians than having 3 30% full seminaries, right? Or 1 90% and 3 30%, because I guess it went 30, not a third, not 33.33. But that's the idea. And it's good to have one good university, not to have a few that are struggling and poor. And those are the types of things that are important to think about at this level of Episcopal conferences. It notes here Episcopal conferences, but I think, and then it notes multiple Episcopal conferences together, which sometimes can be good, especially in smaller nations like Central America or things like that. But I think also at different levels, for example, we have what's called ecclesiastical province, which is the archdiocese and all the dioceses under it. In the U.S., these are often one state or several states combined, and they can organize things. For example, in Florida, they have one Dawson newspaper for all of Florida. And they have one seminary for all of Florida, which is the ecclesiastical province of Miami, because all the dioceses in Florida are just dioceses except for Miami, which is the archdiocese for that. And those kind of coordination things are helpful. Now they just have one Dawson paper. It's called the Florida Catholic, and you can read it all over and it's good that it has things from all over the state, but it also simplifies the manpower and things like that, so we don't have to have all these different people in the different dioceses doing all this news. And at the same time, having a single seminary, then they can have it moderately full and have the formators really dedicated to it and not have to have, struggling to find enough professors to teach this and that much more if you had 3 or 4 seminaries in that same area. So those are important things to think about. Thank you for listening to this episode of Vatican II in a Year. This is a listener-supported podcast, and you can donate to help StarQuest produce it. Another great podcast at sqpn.com/give. You can give one-time monthly on the StarQuest Patreon. Tomorrow we're going to continue with the next paragraphs of Ad Gentes 30 to 32 on collaboration between bishops and religious. Please join us then to learn more about Vatican II, which can provide a blueprint for the Catholic Church. If you want more information on the podcast, like playlists for individual documents and a reading plan, go to sqpn.com/Vatican, frmatthewlc.com/Vatican, or Vatican SQPN on Facebook and X.
Amen.